Hello, and welcome to Longwood Gradcast Beyond the Degree. I'm your host, Dr. Sarah Tanner Anderson, Assistant Dean of the College of Graduate and Professional Studies. This season, we're exploring one big question: how did you get here? Join us as we uncover the inspiring, winding, and sometimes unexpected paths of Longwood University's graduate alumni, students, and faculty. Whether you're dreaming of your next step, reflecting on your journey, or just curious about the stories behind remarkable success, this podcast is your inside look at the transformative power of education, determination, and the Longwood spirit. Let's dive in. Hi, everyone, and welcome back to Season 2 of our podcast, Longwood Gradcast Beyond the Degree, where we ask one big question: how did you get here? Here with us today is Will Miles, a health and physical education teacher at Powhatan Middle School and a coach at Powhatan High School. Welcome, Will.
Hi, Sarah. How are you?
So good. It's so good to see you.
Great to see you, too. It's real remarkable seeing about almost 10 years ago, I was in your class learning about different educational just policies and little tactics here and there. Now I'm living the dream.
Look at us now. Look at us now. And you're doing such a fine job. I can't wait to dive in with you and hear all about your journey. So I guess we'll start with that. How did you get here, Will? Could you share a little bit about your journey from being a Longwood student way back when, both undergrad and graduate, to where you are now in your educational career?
Absolutely. It was just real simple for me. I completed my 4 years as an undergrad at Longwood, thoroughly enjoyed both on the academic and personal side. Longwood just was extremely beneficial for my growth and development as an individual. I saw that they had a year extension program in health and PE. I knew the staff real well, connected me. They pushed me to limits that were good for me as an educator, but I wanted to continue to learn more. So I took the chance. I got accepted to the grad school program, and I just put forth the effort to go to completing the year. And while I was doing that degree program, thankfully, Powhatan had a opening for a part-time position. I applied. I got accepted into that position. And in the springtime of 2017, I was offered a full-time job at the middle school, where I've been since. So it's been real remarkable with my journey after Longwood.
Absolutely. So if we back up and think a little bit about what inspired you to pursue your undergraduate degree here at Longwood in kinesiology, right? And then also stick around for your graduate degree in health and PE. What made you to decide to do that? Why did you choose that path?
For most of my life, I've been interconnected with my passion of sports, but I had many educators growing up that were beneficial to my life. So when I put two and two together, I figured health and PE would be a great route for me. And when I toured Longwood, I was walking around and I just fell in love with the campus, what it was about. And I looked at my dad, I said, "Yep, I'm going here if I get in." So I got in, and the rest is history.
I love it. And so glad that you did. All those years ago when you were in my classroom, you were certainly one of the best students back then with such a positive personality. I knew that you were going to be going some incredible places. And so I'm excited to hear more about your journey from Longwood out into the field and all the great work that you're doing out in Powhatan. So can you tell me a little bit about your transition from being a student here at Longwood to becoming a health and PE teacher at Powhatan Middle School, and then also becoming a coach at Powhatan High School? What was that all about?
I'll tell you what, and Longwood does a very good job prepping teachers. It was a whole new world, but it's good. I saw it as going from one era to the next. I completed my era as being a student, and now it's time to really start to go to the work and really get into what I wanted to do. And at first, the first year teaching is definitely a whirlwind, and you have to be ready to adjust whatever way it throws you. But once you get your routines, once you get the rapport with the students, it becomes with ease. If you truly show the students that you care, then they're going to buy in. And by the time my second or third year really got rolling, I've had a good system in play with the department down here. I'm very blessed with the coworkers I work with. So that's been really beneficial for me. And then for soccer coaching, I mean, that just came along with teaching and the opportunity was very unique in 2018. Actually, one of my old travel coaches, Tim Christian, was at the high school and he was looking for a JV assistant. Applied. We put two and two together that we've met before, and I got to learn under him for 2 solid years. And then 2019 came around. Tim went off to do another adventure, and I applied for the job. Was granted. I got the job as varsity coach, and it was a real whirlwind in 2020 because obviously we got through 3 games and then our season got shut down. But in all honesty, it was just beneficial to see how connected the team was. They believed in me, I believed in them, and really just showed a team effort. Even though that team didn't get to play a lot of games, they were really special.
That's awesome, and I feel like when you are able to coach I coached, high school tennis way back when, and just to see how much it means to kids for you to
Oh,
show up as their
absolutely.
coach, and they have no idea how much it means to us as their coach for them to show up and show out, so I'm sure that even if they only had a few games, you made quite the impact early on.
Yo, absolutely. And again, once we got back in the routine, even through the struggles of the year after, it was about 500 record. It just built the foundation of what we wanted to do further along. And the success that came along the way was definitely earned by the guys.
Well, that's fantastic. But in addition to coaching at the high school, you're also the director of social media for athletics. So tell me a little bit about how that came about.
So I am just a person that loves to be busy. My mom has the best saying for me: a busy will's a good will. So in the fall of 2022, under my new DSA, Chip Boone, I expressed my interest in potentially being a DSA of my own one day. And I knew I needed to gain experience. So I first started off with assisting with operations across all sports. And it's a unique little perspective here in a just one middle school, one high school. I've seen these kids grown up through the school system. So now seeing them compete at JV and varsity level was really special, even if I didn't directly coach him. So I
Yeah.
started assisting him in 2022. And then around the fall of 2023, the opportunity came around to really dive in. And I showed him some of the graphics and highlights that I created for the soccer team. And he just presented the opportunity to be director of the entire athletic department. And now I go and construct highlight videos, graphic announcements, signings to kids going to school, and a bunch more. So it's really worthwhile and it just extends my role in the community.
Oh, that's so awesome. And being able to highlight all the great stuff that the kiddos are doing. I love that. That's fantastic. So you said a busy will is a good will. That makes me laugh because I have a William of my own. My son is also, we keep him busy. He keeps doing the good stuff. So, what are some other core principles that maybe guide your approach to the work that you do, both as a teacher and a coach?
So, Dr. TA, I would say I don't have a concrete term, but I do go by a couple of sayings in my life. One came from actually a professor in the health of the PE department. Came from Ben Franklin. If you fail to prepare, you're preparing to fail. So I live by that standard each and every day, and I try to live up to the best values as a passionate educator. And the second one, it comes from my parents. It's just work hard, be nice. We can go all day and just say you got to put the work in and do all this and that. But if you truly do put the work in, results will show. If you are genuinely just kind-hearted to people, and again, you don't have to get along with everybody, but if you're kind-hearted and understanding to people, that will go a long way too.
And what great principles to guide you day in and day out. And certainly those I'm sure that you model to your students and your colleagues. So thank you for sharing that. So, what are some of the challenges that you may have faced early in your career? How did you overcome them?
Pretty much not gonna say trial and error, but it was just again seeing what routines and what procedures are gonna be best for me. It's not like, oh, we're gonna transition from one point to the next in this minute. It's seeing how do I again evaluate my students the correct way? How do I build trust in them that they're gonna buy into the topics we talk about? Because my subject's the fun subject. And it's truly trying to get them to be the best rounded individual that they can be possible. So that's just one way for my mindset is to always drive to that.
Excellent. Great advice. So, we're going to actually dive deeper into all the many things that you do and that you're involved in. But before we do all of that, how do you balance all of your roles and manage your time effectively?
I have basically a 3-step approach. Number one, Obviously, have a task list where I go onto a sticky note or notepad and make sure I tackle one task, one thing at a time. The second one, again, is making sure that I'm balancing myself out. So if I prioritize myself and putting amount of work in on one area of my life, I got to have the same amount of effort in the next. So just reflect in and see how much time I've actually put into it. And the third thing is just caffeine and coffee. I do strive to get a good amount of sleep, but at the same time, I know my limits. So definitely the coffee route helps out a lot.
Absolutely. I can agree with that. Caffeine helps a lot. Those are excellent task management ideas. I love a to do list. I love a post it note full of tasks, but being able to go back to them and feeling like you're accomplishing things with lots of caffeine, perhaps to assist, definitely a good idea. So, you've also had to manage your time effectively when you were a student here at Longwood, because if I remember correctly, you were very involved in campus life as an undergraduate. And I'm just wondering, because it's so much fun to see students once they transition out into their fields, how all of that involvement really impacted you and shaped you into what you've become and the experiences that you're having today.
It kinda was just like the next step up of my internalization of the routines I set at Longwood, just buying into the campus community and a variety of organizations. When I went to Ballantyne, I was thinking to myself, "Oh, I'll be a teacher first, and then I'll get into coaching, and then I'll be hopefully get into athletic administration." It kinda all clicked in a groove in my life, similar to all my organizations at Longwood. I'm not gonna say I have a superpower by any means, but I am very consistent in terms of just keeping up with what I need to keep up with. Basically, I just had a rough draft of what it looks like to prioritize your time commitments. And at times at Longwood, I was just invested. I was bought into the community, its values, and I wanted to give back as much as possible. I value the same things in Powhatan with each role that I do. Does it look like I'm overextending myself at times? Potentially. But I also have a better understanding now, being a little bit older, of what I need to do. And I have no regrets with any involvements, any roles that I'm a part of. So I just see it's me living my life to the fullest and how much I want to do. And that's what I viewed at Longwood with the organizations I was involved with.
Yeah, and sharing all of your wisdom and your experiences, sharing Will in Theta Chi, you were VP of recruitment for the Interfraternity Council, you were peer mentor, you were an SGA. I mean, you were in a lot of organizations, but you were also spreading joy and gaining experience in lots of different ways as an undergraduate that you've been able to take and transition into your career. And I love that idea of not just staying busy, but staying busy with a purpose. And I'm very much the same way. I like to be busy, and I find that I find joy in being busy. And so it's nice to hear that I'm not alone in that. Will.
You're not by any means.
So in addition to teaching and coaching and being so connected with your Powhatan community, you've even had opportunities to lead initiatives like drug and alcohol awareness when you were a student here. And how might things like that contribute to your pathway into health and physical education and what you're doing now?
Honestly, having the experience to lead a program in the chapter with Theta Chi and also campus wide helped me create my unit plans for my students. It was just a great segue. I gained resources and activities from those lessons. Now, did I condense them down based on the standards for each grade level that I teach? Yes. But I was able to apply them a lot better. I actually used one during a student teaching lesson and I got an A. I had smooth transitions. They were real impressed with the amount of material that I had and they were wondering where I got it. And I said, I just have my resources.
I love that. So, do you have any specific moments that might stick out to you that continue to resonate with you from all of your involvement here at Longwood?
Absolutely. I have three that always come to my mind. The first one is being a summer team peer mentor in 2015. I don't believe there is a more just unique experience on campus than being a summertime peer mentor. I highly encourage if anyone wants to get involved in this capacity of welcoming the next generation of Lancers is through summer team. I got to do it with some of my best friends that I still talk to this day. And what was really unique about that experience is that my sister was an incoming freshman. Just welcoming her and her classmates was a unique experience. Second one was definitely probably organizing in 2014 when I was a sophomore, the interfraternity walks for the Greek community. Every organization had different values, different common purpose, but at the same time, it was a community within South Longwood. So seeing the guys pumped up in the organizations and seeing them really excited about the new members running home, that brought joy to me because that was my experience in Theta Chi. So that was cool to see. And I'll just give you a third fun one was just being director of Color Wars for Mortarboard, really painting campus to life when we had Eiler Field and just seeing the joy of the students. That was always fun to reflect on. So
That's excellent. Such opportunities both to lead and to have fun, which is really what it's all about. And you mentioned being able to engage in some of these initiatives with your friends. So it seems as though you have maintained a great network of friends who've become colleagues as well over the years. So, since graduating, you have engaged in a couple of different initiatives, like a sweatshirt fundraiser that you organized with fellow alumni to provide internet access for students during the pandemic. So, where did that idea come from, and what impact did the initiative have on the students and the families involved?
so that idea stemmed from my college roommate, Barney St. Carr, and he's one of my best friends and a real go-getter in life. I think that is a perfect way to describe Barney. And when he sees a vision, he wants to see it all the way through. But he wants to include his close network of his friends and family. And he identified myself and two of my other really good close friends of Deshaun Johnson and Connor Niver because we're all in the same fraternity. We all, again, keep in contact with each other. And he just wanted us to expand the initiative into Richmond because Barney's in Chicago. We want to see what impact we could have made in Richmond. We had the time to do it. We made the drive for it, and we really just sparked that change and hopefully those students' lives during that tough time for everybody.
I just think that's fantastic. And something that we hear again and again on this podcast and in conversations with alumni across the board is just the power of the relationships that people build here while they're on campus. And it's always so wonderful to see it extended out as alumni, continuing to do the good work of being citizen leaders. And so I applaud you for that particular initiative. But are there other projects that maybe you've spearheaded along the way that are worthy of noting?
The only one that really comes to my mind, and this is just my efforts, not only with my varsity program, but it's also the girls' varsity program here in Powhatan, is just having a fundraising camp for the soccer program by just putting on a youth skills camp, just promoting within the elementary schools during the school year to get as many kiddos we can get out. We've grown numbers from the first year being about 30 kids, then went up to 45. Last year we hit a number, Sarah, to 70.
Oh,
So
wow.
it's really just joyful to see the next generation of players that come along and hopefully have the right youth development. Everyone has different philosophies, but I also put in charge the varsity players to be the coaches through drills, get the kids up and moving, just having fun in the summertime. So
And you have to. And I'm sure the kids love it so much, but I bet you love it just as much. And especially building numbers like that, that's incredible. So, do you have any memorable stories from that or any other community engagement initiatives that you've engaged in along the way?
they're all tired. They're like, man, Miles, this is tough work. I'm like, yeah, coach, it's a lot of energy you got to put into because the kids will see right through you, but they do a great job. I'm very appreciative of their time and effort that they volunteer into their summertime. I mean, getting these kids up at 8 a.m. to come work at camp for 4 hours a day for the entire week. That's a lot to ask, but they're good coaches. They're in that week and they're great role models.
That's awesome. Well, overall, your involvements really just contribute to showcasing your love for the communities you serve. So, whether it's Longwood or the community of Powhatan where you're working now, why do you think advocacy is important to your work?
I truly believe that whatever you promote and you advocate for, you stand by, and it's always worth to promote anything that you want to do. In order for it to gain not only traction in the local area that you might be, but to show just the constant support. Anything that I do, I will always try to advocate for in its best regard. And sometimes one just topic or one thing that I'm involved in takes priority over the other, just depending on time of the year, situation, life
Sure.
changes on the fly. If anyone, again, wants to just have a basis of advocacy for a topic, great. You should promote it. You should stand by your values and, again, why that purpose you have for it.
No, excellent. And I'm interested too, because a lot of your advocacy and your support keeps coming back to Longwood, which we're so very thankful for. We love when our alumni remain engaged. So, why do you specifically support Longwood with some of your ventures?
I am not the person or professional today without my years at Longwood. I can go into regard of how it made me a better student. I can go in regard of how it made me a more confident individual. The list goes on. It was just a real good niche for me in terms of the way I wanted to grow and my visions and my interests. It allowed me to do that. No one shut the door in my face in terms of what I wanted to take on. They allowed me to see, and if it was a success, it was great. If it was a setback, it didn't set me back all the way. It just set me up for the life that I wanted to live, and Farmville will always have a special place in my heart.
As it will for so many. And you mentioned some of the people or the pathways that opened doors for you or opened up for you. Are there any mentors that you can think of along your journey, perhaps here from Longwood, that have helped and supported you to where you are today?
No, absolutely. And I keep up with each of these individuals too directly in the health and PE department that were just remarkable. The first one is Dr. Michael Musadola. As a learner, he really engaged me in a way that was relatable and made me more and more interested in the topics, not only the PE side, but the health side of things. It made me a more organized individual. But the biggest thing that Mike does is that he cares. And he puts in a lot of work being the department chair now of the kinesiology realm, but he does good work. He does everything with that intentional purpose. So I'm not here today, especially with the advisement in my grad school year without Mike. And then Dr. Bonnie Colvin. She was very, again, uplifting when I first started in the program. She, again, all passionate about health and PE, and she was a good role model to go in with in that regard. And two more other individuals that weren't directly within the academic realm, but more of a personal realm. Mr. Cameron Patterson. Everyone loves Cam Pat. He's my fraternity brother. He was a great advisor to me through that, but also just a friend. So it was good to see the Longwood values being uplifted through him through and through. And the last one is Larry Robertson. And everyone knows he's a legend on campus. Everyone knows that he is one of the most caring individuals. He always looks out for you. He's the type of friend that, again, he'll match your energy, check in on you, and he loves Longwood too. So I appreciate Larry as well in that regard.
Those are some pretty tremendous mentors. And I agree with you. All four contribute so deeply to the spirit of Longwood and promoting the next generation of Longwood Lancers. So thank you for sharing that. I bet they will be so proud when they hear this podcast too of you and all of the work that you are doing and continue to do. And so, in thinking about that, how do you mentor students and players you work with, taking what you've learned from your great mentors and extending it on to your students and players?
Even if I don't have one in front of me, I just visualize a mirror of a reflection of how I would want to be taught, of how I would want to be represented in that light. And I just reflect on that. And the best way is the possible, but doing that is being positive. So trying my best to always have that positive frame of mind, even when times get tough. I am realistic and I will again hold my players and students accountable in a educational way. It's always time to learn. You're never stopping learning. I could go on phrases like that all the time. But at the same time, I just want to look in the mirror and say, did I do my role today in this positive array of light?
And being a good role model, I'm sure your students and your players really appreciate that in you. You are certainly a ray of sunshine, definitely a light in this world. And so being able to project that onto your players and your students is just huge. So thank you for all that you're doing out in your own community. You're definitely amplifying the light from Longwood out in new and different areas. So definitely keep up the good work. I just want to shift gears now because this is just so interesting. So let's talk fantasy football for a minute.
Oh, you talk about love
First,
language.
so first, congratulations! You are the 2023 National Fantasy Football Champion. Apparently, I just didn't know I was among such greatness, and I am humbled to be chatting with you today, Will. But how did you get involved in fantasy football, and what has that journey been like?
Well, I certainly appreciate the kind words. There have been definitely probably greater champions before me, but I definitely am blessed for that title. I was first involved with fantasy football just when I was a kid, when I was in eighth grade. Fantasy football has been around for a many of years, and I started off with friends and started learning how it started to work. And then I became obsessed. Started crunching stats, trends, bye weeks, everything that goes into fantasy football. Then it progressed as I got older to getting more involved with friends, fraternity brothers, coworkers, and that eventually got into a passion with the high stakes community of the National Fantasy Championship, an organization that's online based and had the outlets, the National Fantasy Football Championship.
I just think that's incredible. And so, how does your experience with fantasy football complement your work as a physical educator and also a coach? And then, how do you balance that all?
So that's even more caffeine and more time. In the regards to how they do connect, I do love to see how it correlates with the statistical breakdown using Google Office and like the Excel sheets on that to really help me understand certain parts of the game and coaching. Maybe it's a trend of my players completing passes to a certain part of the field. Maybe it's me looking of how many actual shots were shot from the right side compared to left, or how many times an opportunity was let through of a certain part of the field. And so that's how it correlates with the coaching. And it probably can go into a little bit of grade book, how I organize my grades for my classes. But again, in my eyes, is that is a passion, it's an outlet for me to express my love for sports. And football is my main love to watch and to buy into. But my, again, passion as an educator is completely separate. So I'm not by any means saying, again, there are two different things, but I do focus like solely. One's in my personal time, one's in my professional time.
So, do you ever share your fantasy football success with your students or with your players? I mean, do they think you're just the most incredible because you're the champ?
I get a lot of questions that are asked my way about a situation, or they want to dive in deep on a topic. And a couple are like, "Oh, I could beat you." I'm like, "Okay, well, probably there's a little bit of luck that goes into it. Not gonna lie, but if you have the skill, I would love to see it." But no, just a little bit, and it's great to see that they love this outlet as well, especially the athletes at the high school. Outside of my boys on the soccer team, it's a cool way to connect with them. But I kind of keep that in house with my friends, and by any means, I don't compete against students in any leagues. I will just make that known right away. But I like to hear this is a little side. It kind of gets them kind of uplift. It's an easy conversation starter, let's say that. And when they found out about it, I got a lot of congratulations and a lot of excitement. And just imagine a teenage mind of how it was going throughout the building at the high school. I was like, yeah, yeah, thank you, thank you. And they were just, again, they're excited for me. So I appreciate seeing that support.
Oh, no, I love that, and I'm sure that they were very excited and proud of you, like, "Oh my gosh, my teacher is the GOAT." I love it, I love it. So, you've also had great success in the coaching world. So, what was it like to lead the varsity soccer team to the state tournament for the first time in 27 years and receive Region 4 Coach of the Year honors?
It was phenomenal. It was sensational. Above all, it was just the truly highlight of my professional career. That 2022 team will always have a special place in my heart. They saw the vision, they saw the tactics that I wanted to run out, but at the end of the day, it was a team effort. Whatever, again, suggestions that they might have had or wanted to implement, they told me in a honest but respectful fashion. And the biggest thing, Sarah, is that they bought in for a common purpose. And that's why I got into coaching, and the role that I'm in, again, is to give back to the guys that buy into me. So they were all clicking on full cylinders from all 19 guys on the roster. I could rely on each and every one of them to show up and just go through that remarkable season and go through the tough district that we were in, and that led us to the state tournament. And fortunately, didn't go and get a state title, but I was just proud nonetheless that they made it to that point. Since we've written the chapter that wasn't written in Powhatan boys soccer in a while.
That is outstanding. So, what are your future goals for the program or for you?
It's plain and simple for my program. It's just try to meet that standard once again. My first wave, as I call them, of guys that have gone through and pretty much was 2020 to 2023. They set the new standard for Powhatan soccer. Now it's my next wave, my what I call my second wave, to set that standard and meet that standard. And what is very unique about the second wave is that I've coached them directly since they were 11 to 12 years old as a travel coach and a school coach at the middle school too. And just seeing their growth and development has been outstanding. It's going from the kids that were in fifth and sixth grade to now being juniors and seniors is really cool.
And it sounds like you have a lot of strategy across both coaching and finding great success with your players and also with your fantasy football career. So, do you have any short term or long term goals in either one of those careers?
Absolutely. So, in the professional sense of mine, I definitely want to be a director of student activities one day for a school system at a high school level. I'm very content and pleased with the roles that I have at Powhatan right now. That being said, as I talked about earlier about eras, my next era is definitely going to be within that realm, being just leader, not a boss, because I feel like bosses just demand too much, but truly just a leader of an athletic department. That's what I envision myself for. And then for fantasy, it's just won another national title. That's again, I'm setting it high, and but I don't care. I set that out, and I'm going to try to achieve it.
Well, we're cheering for you. All of us are cheering for you.
Thank you.
So, Will, you have shared so many amazing nuggets with us today. And I'm wondering what advice you might give to our current students or young alumni of Longwood who are just entering their careers.
Don't be afraid to jump right in. Any experience is good experience in my book because you always will learn something from it. And if it's not directly going to be your passion, like say a couple years down the road, that's fine, but you don't know that yet. Give it a chance. Again, take every little moment for what it is, and then you move on to the next. I know that's easier said than done. And I know I took my leap of faith and it's paid off in my vision very well. You just got to see what happens. And that's my simple, just right to the point with that.
I think that's excellent advice. And I hope that everyone can glean something from what you shared today. And I guess I'm just wondering, as a closing thought, how can our students here make the most of their time at Longwood, whether they're undergraduates or graduate students, to set them up for success?
Being just invested not only in your academics, but buying into what Longwood provides, in my opinion, gives you the most beneficial experience at Longwood. You don't have to do every organization. You don't have to be super involved. You don't have to make a pathway because you want to be like someone else. Make your pathway because you enjoy what you do. And I guarantee you the experiences that you learn from all the organizations or all the experiences that come along with those, your academic journey, they'll pay off in some way down the road.
Wonderful. Well, Will, it has been an absolute pleasure to talk with you today, to learn more about where your journey has taken you. I can't wait to hear where it's taken you in the next decade. It's really been a joy.
Sarah, thank you for having me on and giving me the opportunity to just showcase my story. It was great to catch up with you. And again, hopefully, Longwood keeps going on the up and up with these types of insights. I do think they're beneficial for anyone to hear.
Excellent. Well, thank you so much. And it has been a great conversation, and we hope you will join us next time.
Thank you for joining us for another episode of Longwood Gradcast Beyond the Degree. We hope today's story has left you inspired to reflect on your own path and the steps that brought you here. Remember, every journey starts with a single step, and we are here to support yours. Explore our graduate programs and professional endorsements at longwood.edu/grad programs. And stay tuned for more stories that remind us leadership is in our blood. Is it in yours?